The wind cut through the city park like it had something to prove. It slid beneath coats, stung exposed skin, and carried with it the sharp reminder that autumn was not a gentle season. Leaves skittered across the cracked pavement, gathering in corners the way forgotten people often did. On a worn wooden bench near a thinning oak tree, a young woman sat with her shoulders pulled inward, as though she were trying to take up less space in the world. Her arms wrapped protectively around a little girl beside her. The child couldn't have been more than 6. She clutched a faded gray blanket, once soft, now threadbare, with a seriousness far beyond her age. Her legs dangled above the ground, shoes too light for the cold, toes curling slightly inside them. For a long time, the girl said nothing. She just watched other families pass by. Parents laughing, children running, a world that seemed loud and alive without her. Then her voice broke the air. "Mama, are we bad people?" The woman froze. A few benches away, Daniel Harper felt as though someone had struck him in the chest. He had been unwrapping his lunch, his thoughts mercifully empty for once, when those words reached him. They didn't sound dramatic. They didn't sound angry. They sounded tired. Daniel slowly lowered his hands. The sounds of the park blurred, the laughter, the footsteps, the distant traffic, until all he could hear was that small, uncertain voice echoing in his head. "Are we bad people?" The woman looked down at her daughter, panic flickering behind her eyes. She swallowed hard, blinking fast, as if afraid of what might spill out if she didn't. "No, baby," she said quietly, pulling the girl closer. "No, we're not bad. We're just having a rough time." The girl nodded, but her face stayed serious. Children knew when answers were incomplete. Daniel closed his eyes briefly. He hadn't come to the park for conversation. He came because it was quiet, because quiet was easier than home sometimes. Since his wife, Mary Ann, had died 3 years earlier, silence had become both comfort and punishment. He worked long hours, warehouse shifts in the morning, delivery driving at night. Everything in between belonged to his 8-year-old son, Evan. There was no room for reflection. Until now. That question dragged him backward, to nights when Evan had cried into his pillow, asking questions Daniel had no idea how to answer, to moments when Daniel himself had stared into the dark, wondering if he had failed as a husband, as a father, as a man. He tried to look away. He couldn't. The woman wore a coat that had seen better years. One sleeve was fraying near the wrist. Her hair was tied back hastily, strands escaping as if she hadn't had time to care. At her feet sat a battered backpack and a thin plastic grocery bag that looked far too light to carry anything meaningful. The girl spoke again, her voice trembling now. "Because nobody wants us anywhere." Daniel stood up before he fully realized what he was doing. He approached slowly, careful not to startle them. The woman noticed him instantly. Her body stiffened. Her arms tightened around her daughter, instinctively protective. "Yes?" she asked, already bracing herself. "I'm sorry," Daniel said gently. "I didn't mean to listen. I just heard what she said." There was a pause. A long one. "We're fine," the woman said quickly. "Just resting." Daniel nodded, not challenging her lie. He gestured toward the bench. "Mind if I sit? It's cold standing." After a moment, she nodded. "I'm Daniel," he said softly. Then he smiled at the little girl. "That blanket looks important." The girl studied him, then nodded. "It keeps bad dreams away," she said. Daniel smiled. "That sounds like the best kind." The woman exhaled slowly, some tension leaving her shoulders. Her name was Naomi. Her daughter was Ella. Naomi didn't plan to explain her situation, but something about Daniel, his patience, his lack of judgment, made the words fall out anyway. She had worked at a grocery store until it shut down without warning. She had savings, briefly. Rent took most of it, then gas, then food. The landlord gave her a deadline. 2 nights ago, her car finally stopped working. "I'm not asking for help," she said quickly, shame sharpening her voice. "I just don't know what to tell her anymore." Daniel listened. Really listened. He noticed the way Ella chewed slowly, carefully, as if afraid food might disappear. Without drawing attention to it, Daniel reached into his bag and pulled out his sandwich. Naomi shook her head immediately. "No, please." "It's okay," Daniel said. "I'll eat later." Ella looked up at her mother, hope flickering in her eyes. After a long moment, Naomi nodded. Ella took a bite. Then another. Her shoulders relaxed, just a little. Daniel felt something twist painfully inside him. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. Evan was already snoring softly in the next room. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, hearing Ella's question replay over and over. Are we bad people? He thought about how easily it could have been him and Evan. One missed payment, one broken down car, one moment of bad luck. The next morning, Daniel packed extra food. Naomi and Ella were still in the park. They looked colder. Daniel brought hot tea and breakfast sandwiches. Naomi cried quietly while Ella drank, steam rising between her small hands. That was when Daniel made the call. A friend of his managed a small cleaning service. It wasn't glamorous, but it was work. Naomi almost refused. "I don't even have an address. I don't know where we'll be tonight." "Then today," Daniel said softly, "you don't have to." The days that followed weren't easy. Naomi missed a shift when Ella caught a fever. Daniel wondered if he had made a mistake. He worried about getting too involved, about what would happen if things went wrong. But slowly, things changed. A motel room turned into a tiny studio. Fear turned into exhaustion. Exhaustion turned into routine. Ella smiled more. Evan started asking about her. One afternoon, months later, Ella sat beside Daniel on the same bench. "Mr. Daniel?" she asked. "Yes?" "Are we bad people?" Daniel knelt in front of her, meeting her eyes. "No," he said firmly. "You never were." Her smile was small, but certain. That winter, Daniel's home felt full again. Not perfect, not easy, but alive. And Daniel finally understood something. Kindness doesn't erase pain, but sometimes it answers the question that hurts the most.